With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. And there's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. There's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. until we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. Until we can lose, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, be magnified, be magnified, be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Come on, be magnified, be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Come on, be magnified. Be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Come on, be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Come on, be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Come on, be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified. Be magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Be thou magnified. Yahuwah. magnified in the heavens. Be magnified in the earth. Be magnified in this temple. You are. Be thou magnified. 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 You are. Be thou magnified.
Allow the Lord. It is now time for our declaration. A time when we come to voice break the atmosphere. The first voices that you hear will be a portion of the praise team, and I will be immediately followed to take us into a time of declaration.
Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know he washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with white and ends with A. Goes like this, Yahush, yeah. Oh, his name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Yahush, sweet Yahush. Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know he washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with white and ends with A. Goes like this, Yahush, yeah. Oh, his name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Listen here, have you ever heard this name? I know he washed me clean, white as snow. If you have salvation, then you know you will be clean. You'll be cleansed with the Spirit. Have you ever heard of this name? Name that starts with Y and ends with A. Goes like this, Yahush, yeah. Oh, his name is Yahush. His name is Yahush, yeah. Yeah. Yahush, sweet Yahush. Yay!
And as we enter this time of declaration, I ask everyone to repeat after me. Say, I declare that I thank my Abba, that I am awake, conscious, and walking in truth. Toda Rabah, for allowing me to know truth, and this truth to make me free. And it is so. Satan, you defeated, your darkness is scattered, and Yahushua is sovereign. And it is so. Come on, let's magnify our King. Give him the highest esteem. And we can magnify him for all that he has done, all that he's doing, and all that he is yet going to do. At this time, we're going to move into a time where it's time for us to bring seed unto our King. And as we do so, and as we give, we do so according to this set apart writ. But even as it says in the book of Bereshit, that as long as the earth remains, there remains seed time and harvest. Luke 6:38 says that when we give, it shall be given unto us great measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall the Abba pay to give into our bosom. 2 Corinthians 9 declares that the Abba is a cheerful giver. He gives seed to the sower, bread for our food, and multiplies our seed sown, and increases the fruits of our righteousness, that we may abound unto every great work. Amos even comes full circle to let us know that the time is coming in our ears when the reaper shall overtake the sower. So as we come preparing to sow our seed, we don't understand that not only is it seed time, but what time is it?
Harvest time.
What time is it?
Harvest time.
It truly is harvest time. So for those of you that are here that desire to sow seed, if you're in need of a time and offering, raise your hand, and I'll just be more than happy to get one to you. For those of you that are viewing virtually, way of internet, if you desire to sow seed into great ground, into productive ground, and to help to promote the work that is going on here in this place, then if you may desire to do so, if PayPal is your medium or your preferred medium of exchange, send us your information. We will send you the link to correspond accordingly. For those of you that prefer to use the Cash App application, send us your information, just correspond with us. And again, we will correspond accordingly. And we do thank you in advance, especially for those of you that already support us in this work, for all that you do and your continued support. And it is so.
And it is so.
It is now time for us to bring the seed unto our King. So as we prepare to do so, we'll be baruch with some giving music coming from our for your provision for us and for how you always provide and make a way for us. Father, you said that if we're willing and obedient, that you shall provide for us the fatness of this land. And because we walk in obedience to your Torah, to your writings, and Father, we magnify you and we do thank you because it is you all that brings our provision to us, and we are baruch because of our obedience to you and to your Torah. Hashem Yahushua, Yahush, Hamashiach. And it is so. And it is so. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We do magnify all that he's done, all that he's doing, and all that he's yet going to do. It is now time for us to receive true instructions from our King. So without further ado, it gives me tremendous esteem to bring to your forefront one who is truly called, anointed, and appointed to reach, teach, and bring the masses with the truth of our Rabbi, to bring Torah down to his least common denominator, so that even a fool can hear it and not err. I love you. So we do magnify Abba as I get out your way and bring to your forefront one who is truly been a baruch to my life and to the lives of anyone that is truly better and all. So without further ado, let's put our hands together and let's receive our Lord, the senior pastor of Messengers of Yahuwah Kingdom and Great Belief Ministry, our very own Aliyah Yahshua.
Come on, let's praise him. Come on, let's worship him. Let's worship him. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, let's worship him. Come on, he's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. Come on, you're worthy. Come on, worship him. Come on, wonderful. Come on, worship him. I praise you, I praise you, I praise you. Because you're worthy, you're worthy. I praise you because you're kind and because you are how much you're people. I praise you for the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. Your name is to be praised. Your name is to be praised. We praise you, we praise you. We praise you for the great things that happen in our lives. We praise you for the challenges that we face. We praise you for the trials and the tribulations that we face. We praise you because you are worthy. We praise you because you brought us out of darkness into your marvelous light. We praise you, our Yahweh, because you're worthy. We praise you because you gave us your gift. Your gift, the gift of your son, Yahweh. And we praise you. We exalt you. We lift you up in this place on the same ground. Come on, he's worthy. Come on. You're worthy. You're worthy. Come on. Let him touch you. Let him touch you. Come on, let him touch you. Let him touch you. Let him touch you in your innermost being. Let him touch you in your rock. Let him touch you. Let him touch you. Let him relieve all the stress and pain. And the anguish of the young. Come on, praise him. All I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. Come on, praise him for that touch. Come on, praise him. Come on. Come on, praise him. Come on, all I need, all I need, all I need. Come on, get a touch. Come on, all I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, all I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch. All I want is a touch. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. Come on, praise him for that touch. Come on, praise him for that touch. Come on, praise him for that touch. Come on, he's a miracle worker. Praise him for that touch. Praise him for that touch. Come on, Yahuwah. Come on, Yahuwah. Come on, Yahuwah. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy. God, he's worthy, he's worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy. All I need is a touch from you. And know all you need and all you want is a touch. Come on, Yahoo. You're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy. We are happy tonight. I love you. All I want is a touch from you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All I need, all I need, all I need is a touch from you. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. All I need, all I need is a touch from you. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. A touch from you. Take the wrongs in my life and make them right. All I want is a touch from you. All I need, all I need is a touch from you. No one else can do me like you do. No one else can do me like you do. Turn my wrongs into right. All I need, all I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. Just one touch. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. Is a touch from you. Take the wrongs in my life and make them right. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. A touch from you. All I need, all I need is a touch from you. A touch from you. Take the wrongs in my life and make them right. All I want, all I want is a touch from you. A touch from you. All I need, all I need. I need a touch. How many of you need a touch? I don't just need it, I want it, I want a without you. We need you every step of the way. We need you to take control of our lives each and every day. We need you to take control as we relinquish our authority, as we let go of the reins and give you full authority, full control over our lives. Help us, hallelujah, to walk in your precepts, your ordinances and your commands. Help us, hallelujah. Help us. We need the help. Our people need the help, hallelujah. We need you, we need you, we need you. We need you in times like these. We need you. We need you, we need you. We need you, we need you. We need you. We need you to restore us, refresh us, empower us. We need you. We need you. We need you. And we're not ashamed to say we need you. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. Come on, can you say, I need you all your life? Come on, I need you. I need you. I need you. Come on, let him know I need you. I need you. I need you. Come on, I need you by my side. I need you. I need you. I need you every step of the way. I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you, Yahuwah. I need you to breathe into me. Breathe into your people. We need you. 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 Come on, tell me you need him. I need you. I need you. After the dust has settled, after the rain has stopped, I need you. After a busy day of handling this, that, and the other, I need you. After hearing this, hearing that, I need you. I need you. Come on, let him know you need it. Come on, let him know you need it. Come on, let him know you need it. Come on, we need you. 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 Come on, it's all right to let him know you need him. If you don't need him, that's you, but I need him. Come on, I need him in my life. I need him. I need his power. I need his instructions. It's amazing we can take time for everything else. But when it comes time to taking time to give him praise and to give him what's due him, sometimes we don't know what to do. Sometimes we don't know what to do. But I'm challenging you to praise him. I'm challenging you to lift your hands wherever you are and begin to let him know how much you appreciate him, how much you adore him, how much you can't live without him. Come on, I need you. I can't live without you. I can't make it without you. I can't breathe without you. I can't sleep without you. I need you, I need you, I need you. I need you. I need him, I need him. Come on. I need him to repair my heart. I need him to bring restoration. I need him to wash my mind. I need him to work with me and work on me. I need you, I need you.
with the feast coming up, we need him. Come on, we need him to open up our understanding. We need him. Yes, we do. I'm here to encourage you and exhort you on this Layla to ground yourself in this moment, to ground yourself in his victory, to ground yourself. Ground yourself in this moment. I need you. Because when the dust settles and the smoke clears, whose side are we going to be on? I'm going to be on the side of the upright. I'm going to live my life in truth, in Torah truth. Come on, Yahuwah. I need to go all the way. All the way, all the way, all the way. No stops, no detours. No question about it. I'm going all the way with him. Because I have him. And I need him. Just want to exhort you on to Layla. And to encourage you. Sometimes we get so accustomed to things going in the way that we are used to them, that when something different happens, we question, why is that going on? Because you must understand, we are spirit beings. And it is in us to praise him. It is in us to praise him, to give him praise, and to give him esteem. No matter how it may look ridiculous to somebody else. Somebody needs this. I need it because I need him. I need him. You need him. We need him. We can't make it without him. Come on, I need thee. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour, I need thee. Come on. Baruch me now, my Savior. I need thee. Come on, I need thee. I need thee. Come on, I need thee. Baruch me now, my gentle Savior. I need you. I need you every hour. I need you every moment, every second, every minute of my life. I need you. I need you from the moment my eyes open. From the time they close, I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. We need him. We need him. We need a time of collective praise. We need a time of collective worship. We need a time where we worship him. We need a time where we collectively praise him and worship him. Come on. We always sing the song, welcome. Welcome. Now make him welcome. Welcoming you. Welcoming in your life. Welcoming in your home. Come on. Come on, praise him. Hallelujah. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. Come on, he's worthy. He's worthy. Come on, he's worthy. Come on, he's worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. Come on, praise him. Come on, praise him. Come on. He's worthy. He's worthy of all praise, esteem, and the heart that we pour upon him. Come on, you're worthy. Come on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on. Hallelujah. You're welcome. You're welcome. Come on, make him welcome. Make him welcome in your home. Make him welcome welcome in your heart. Make you welcome. Come on, you're welcome. You're welcome. Come on, make you welcome. Come on, join along with us and praise Him. Come on. Hallelujah. Who are you? Worthy. You're worthy. Come on. Come on, make you welcome. Come on, He's welcome. Come on, make you welcome. Come on. Let it release some of that pressure off your heart. Come on, let it release that stress off your body. Come on, let it take you to a higher place. Let it take you to a higher place. Come on, worship Him with us as we go to a higher place. Yeah. So worthy. Come on. Worship Him. Come on, He's worthy. He's worthy. Come on. He's worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. We praise You. We exalt You. We adore You. Take your high feet. Come on. The fire that burns deep inside, because we are on Him. Praise Him, praise Him, praise Him. Come on, praise Him. Come on, come on. Give your to Him. Come on, He's worthy. He's worthy. You're worthy. Come on, He's worthy. He's worthy. Lift your hands and praise Him. Lift your hands and praise Him. Come on. All you people, lift your hands and praise Him. Give Him praise. Come on, give Him praise. Come on, He's worthy of your praise. He's worthy of mine. Come on, He's worthy. He's worthy. Come on, He's worthy. He's worthy. Come on, make Him feel welcome. Make Him feel welcome. Come on. Welcome into this place. Come on, welcome into this place. Welcome into my heart. Welcome into my mind. Welcome into my ruach. Come on, there's no place you can't reside. Come on, I open myself up to You. Make Your abode on the inside of me. Take control, not my will, but Thy will be done. As it is in Shemaiah, let it be so in this earth. I Torah you are the Yahuwah. For that's what You're doing, that's what You've done, and that's what You're yet going to do. Come on. Come on. Come on. We praise You, we praise You, we praise You. because you're worthy. From the crown of our head to the sole of our feet, and from the sole of our feet to the crown of our head, we do worship you. We do appreciate you. We do adore you. I worship you, Yahuwah. I adore you, I adore you, I adore you. Come on, put your hands together. Let's keep it. Come on, because he's worthy, he's worthy. Go. He's worthy. Worship him, we appreciate him, we do adore him. For all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he is going to do. We appreciate him. We appreciate him. No, we are not your typical, what you would call Hebrew, quote unquote. We are Hebrew. And we do appreciate our Yahuwah. And we are not like everybody else. I refuse to be like everybody else. He's been too great to us for us not to praise him. What we do openly is what we do in secret. Your praise ought to be or exemplify your relationship with him. I appreciate him. Because you don't know like I know what he's done for me. See, they sing them songs and they sing those songs in Christianity. But we need to be singing those songs here in truth. Because he brought us out of darkness into his marvelous light. He brought us into truth that we would experience him like we've never experienced him. I appreciate him. I do. I appreciate him for all that he's doing and all that he's done. I do worship. I do worship. I do worship you. We worship you. We serenade you. We serenade you. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. King of kings, power over all. We do worship you. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. He's worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. He's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. And we appreciate him. I appreciate him for keeping me throughout the young man, for keeping me throughout the late night, for showing his kindness and showing his mercy. At some point in time, we've all experienced his kindness and we've all experienced his mercy. And with the things that are going on, it is important that we always praise him. We have to praise him. Prayer and praise work together. You can't just be a person of prayer and not a person of praise. You can't just be a person that praises and not pray. You have to do both. Why? Because it's a part of our makeup. It's a part of who we are. We just don't do things just to do it. We do it because we are him. Very important for us to understand that. He is the strength of my life. He removes all misery, pain, and strife. Yes, he does. And it's important that we get a relationship with him that goes just that deep. That you can really trust him to remove pain that you never thought would be removed. That he will remove anguish, and that he will remove the things that will come to hinder and keep us from moving forward. Very important for us to understand. With everything that's going on and everything that's being said and everything that's being promoted, it's important that we have a time of refreshing. That we have a time that we can be refreshed by the Abba. We're hearing about death of our own by the hands of those that claim to be us. There is a lot that's going on. And if we don't ground ourselves in this moment, in truth, we are going to be surely swept away. We're going to be just like that one that built their house upon the sand. And when the storm came and beat upon it vehemently, it was devastated. Why? Because it failed. I don't know about you, but I didn't come this far to let go. I didn't come this far to be knocked back 5 or 6 years. But I came this far that I might continue to move forward in him. Because he is the reason why we live. He's the reason why we move, live, and have our very existence. And we owe him praise. We owe him praise. Yes, we do. We owe him praise. We appreciate him for once again another opportunity to be here just to encourage your hearts with the scriptures and just to be able to spend some time with you in this time as we know so many things once again are going on. We just want to encourage you to keep your heads up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah because you can't go wrong. We want to encourage you to be seekers of truth and not just seekers of knowledge, because we have many people with a bunch of knowledge or a lot of knowledge, but all of that knowledge is not truth. And so we want to make sure that we are walking in the truth that he's given unto us, his people. I want to encourage your hearts truly once again to remain committed to his instructions. And so we're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah. And then we're going to go into the reading of the 10 Commandments. And to encourage you once again in this hour and in this season to maintain and to keep your head up. And don't allow what's going on around you to get inside of you. Just because it's going on around me doesn't mean it has to get inside of me. Just because my shoes get wet on the outside doesn't mean I have to let that water get inside of my shoe. I have a choice. I can let things affect me, infect me, and devastate me. Or I have a choice to walk away and say, I won't let it bother me. I won't let it get in me and do the damage that it could do. Now, I'm not saying there are times that we won't find ourselves dealing with things that will come to shake us and will come to basically knock the wind out of you. But because we have Abba Yahuwah who is there, always willing to put back in us, breathe in us what has been taken out of us. So it's important that we understand these things. We're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch Atah.
Baruch Atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our Supreme One.
Our Supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the people.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch Atah.
Baruch Atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch Atah.
Baruch Atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our Supreme One.
Our Supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch Atah.
Baruch Atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we have the reading of the Ten Commandments, done by Mattathias.
Coming from Devarim 5, verses 6 to 22. Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. Bet you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hot. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalet, guard the seventh day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Israel, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stress out arm. Therefore, Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. And esteem your hour and your evening as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. You shall not murder. Say, neither shall you commit adultery. Cat, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words you have spoken to all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Devarim chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the yamim of your life, and that your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasharal. Yahuwah our power. Yahuwah is a God. Hear, O Yasharal. Yahuwah our supreme one. Yahuwah is a God. And you shall have Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall to what?
Bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. Give your mind access to, give the Torah access to your mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies, and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verses 7 and 8. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tabled it to fit our personal time of confession, let us say this together. I will not let the scroll of the Torah depart out of my mouth. But I shall meditate in it. Yom and Layla. That I may observe to do. According to all that is written in it. For then I shall make my way prosperous. And then I shall act wisely. Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah, I shall act wisely. Abba Yahuwah, I shall act wisely. I am determined to act wisely. I am determined to act wisely. I am determined to act wisely. And it is so. And it is so. I am determined from the bottom of my heart to the tip top of my heart to act wisely. And it is so. And it is so. And it is so. Mishlei 15 and 8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Romans 14, 17, and 18, for the kingdom of Yahuwah is not meat and drink, but uprightness and shalom and joy in the Ruach HaKodesh. For he that in these things serveth Yahush is acceptable to Yahuwah and approved of men. And it is so. It is so. Tehillim 34 and 15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Massah 1 and 8. But we shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh is come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and in Shamor and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Ayah 33 and 4. The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody said he's a life giver.
He is a life giver.
Say it again, he is a life giver.
He is a life giver.
Micah 3 and 8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah. and of judgment of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And so.
And it is so.
Yahukanan, Aleph 2, 5, and 6. And it reads, but whoever guards his word, meaning the Torah, truly the Ahab of Yahuwah has been perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 6, the one who says he lives in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked. We won't know that if we don't study his life, though. It's important we study the life of Yahushua so that we can know how he governed himself and we can know the things that he did. It's very important that we understand that. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yahukanan Aleph 5, 3 through 15. And it reads, for this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult, because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Somebody say, my belief has overcome this world.
Has overcome this world.
My belief has overcome this world.
This world.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahushua is the son of Yahuwah? This is the one that came by water and blood, Yahushua Mashiach. Not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and the three are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater. This is why it's important that we receive the Ruach Kodesh, that we receive the blood of Yahushua, and that we receive the immersion and be immersed, because these are the three witnesses. Are you following me?
Yes.
And they are also described and given in other verses. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater, because this is the witness of Yahuwah which he has witnessed concerning his son. The one who believes in the son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life, and this life is in his son. He who possesses the son possesses life. He who does not possess the son of Yahuwah does not possess life. Cut and dry. It is important that we receive Yahushua, our Mashiach, into our lives, but because without him we do not have life. We don't even know how to live this life without him in it. What example are you going to follow? Whose example are you going to actually follow if we're not following his? And it is so.
And it is so.
Excuse me. Verse 13. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
One of the important things that I always like to try to bring out with reading that is that the importance of understanding what Yahukanan had to deal with. When you read in Yahukanan Aleph, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 5, then go into Revelations, you find out that he had to deal with a lot of narcissism and Gnostics. He had to deal with a lot of people that followed in that Gnostic way. They believed that Yahushua was not the son of Yahuwah. They believed that he was not flesh and blood, but they believed that he was, and Ruach, they believed that he was just flesh, and then many believed he was flesh and water. So there were many things that was going on, many rumors about who he was and what his makeup was, which made many people falter and fumble. And this is why Yahukanan had to rise up and encourage the people to believe and not doubt, because many people had began to turn away from that way of life because of the information that was put out there. Just like to y'all, we have so much information being put out there that people really don't know what to believe, truthfully. And so people began to lean on their own understanding, and by leaning to their own understanding, what happens? Now they become right in their own eyes. They become a law unto themselves. And this can be very dangerous, because now when people begin to promote and begin to propagate that, if it is not of Yahuwah, what happens? Now you're going to have a group or a cluster or a people that's going to begin to follow in that. So it's important that we understand he gave us a method. He gave us a platform in which and how we are to learn and govern our lives. It's just important that we stick to the plan and not deviate from it. And you have to understand, there are going to be trials. There are going to be things that's going to come into our lives that try to derail us and try to make us abort the truth. But you got to be committed and remain committed to his instructions for your life. It's important that we understand these things. Very important. At this time, we're going to do our affirmation, then our declaration, and then we're going to seal our praise, prayer, and worship with the writings. But let us repeat this together. I purpose to develop my ruah.
I purpose to develop my ruah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruah.
of Yahuwah in my ruah.
That life is the Torah
That life is the Torah
of Yasharal.
of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk
I purpose to walk
in the Torah of life.
in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching.
He is leading me.
He is leading.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruah
The Ruah
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her lead.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us repeat our declaration for this Layla. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach.
we subdue ignorance
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
We arrest hate
We arrest hate
with Torah ahab.
with Torah ahab.
We release Torah truth
We release Torah truth
to the four extremities
to the four extremities
of the earth,
of the earth,
where Ibram
where Ibram
reside.
reside.
We declare
We declare
healing,
healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation
and salvation
to the body of
to the body of
Yahush,
Yahush,
to the body of Yahuwah,
to the body of Yahuwah,
through Yahush,
through Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It's
And
very
it is so.
important that we understand these things. Very important as we give ourselves unto Abba Yahuwah. Let us prepare to bow before our King. And let us say this in unison. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my
and
redeemer.
my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in his presence. Once again, here to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders square, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah. because you can't go wrong. I know many of us have had um, a long, young, and many of us are probably saying, but you don't understand, it's going to be even a longer labor. But the bottom line is, no matter where we are in this walk and no matter where we are in our lives, it is important that we remain committed to Him because He's going to remain committed to us no matter what. And excuse me, because He is committed unto us as people, it is only right and only out of a hob that we be committed and do the very same thing as He has given unto us, His way of life. As we are approaching the feast of Pesach, Passover, it is important, and unleavened bread. They are two distinct, separate feasts. I just want to encourage you in the writings onto Layla, just to read. Let us go to Matthew chapter 26 to encourage you to know that Yahush kept the feast, and so are we supposed to keep the feast. It is so much that I desire to bring out of this, but I'm just going to deal with the surface of it onto Layla. And the reason being is because I really want to encourage us to ground ourselves in the strength that He's given unto us, ground ourselves in the shalom that He has given unto us, ground ourselves in that belief that He has given unto us as His people. And so that when trials come and when the it feels like the Laylas are long and the Yamim are longer, that we will not falter, fumble, or stumble, but that we will hold on to His unchanging hand, and that we will continue not just to hold on, but we will hold on and yet be active. We will continue to spread. We will continue to promote the greatness and the besora of our King. It is important that we understand these things because I know, once again, when you're dealing with situations and whether you're dealing with mishpako or whatever it is you're dealing with, the first thing that the enemy comes to do is try to steal, I don't want to say our thunder, but tries to steal your motivation. He tries and he wants to make you feel incompetent, make you feel like it's not worth it. That's his job. And you have to understand, he is great at what he does. But we've got to be willing to overcome those things by what we know, not by what we feel, but by what we know. And I just want to encourage you as we're getting ready to turn to, once again, chapter 26 of Metit Yahu. Very important for us to understand these things. Why is it important? Because you have to understand trials are going to come, tribulations are going to come. You're going to get the wind knocked out of you at times. And sometimes that wind takes a little longer to come back in, because depending on who's the one that executed the punch. And so there are times when we can be hurt by people that are closest to us. And this is why I say ground yourself in the strength of Abba Yahuwah in this moment. Ground your belief in Him in this moment. You know, the movie, I think it was After Earth, with Will Smith and his son in it. And he told him when he got out and he began to become delirious because the air was real thin. Do you not know when you find yourself in situations that hurt you, it makes you feel like you railing and rocking and reeling and like your head is woozy and you feel like you're about to pass out? Because sometimes it does, it hurts you just that bad to where it feels like it is taking something out of you. And so it is important that we understand these things. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important that we understand that we've got to begin to rely on Him and lean in and upon Him.
Yes.
There are things that can come to challenge you to the very core of your very essence, to the core of your very being. But we can't let that stop us from believing and trusting in Him. We've got to trust in Him with our whole heart and with our whole being. And by doing so, guess what? We are strengthened from inside out. It doesn't matter what a person looks like on the outside, because a person can appear to be strong on the outside, but what determines that strength is on the inside. And the only one that can give us that strength is Abba Yahuwah through His Son, Yahush our Mashiach. And so it is important that we understand that. But once again, I want to encourage you to stay strong and stay strong in the power of His might. And don't allow yourself to be to be bombarded and overtaken with the cares of this life. With so many things that's been said, so many things that's been going on in the kingdom, it's very important that we don't lose sight, that we stay focused. Somebody say, stay focused.
Stay focused.
Say it again, stay focused.
Stay focused.
It's important that we stay focused. Now, it's a it's tragedy when you hear about someone losing their life. And it's even a greater tragedy when you hear of the person who has taken or was accused of taking the life or admitted to taking the life. Are you following me?
Yes.
And the reason why is because if we're going to be a people that's going to be an example for every other nation, and if we're going to be the people that bring others unto the truth, then they got to see something in our lives worthwhile following. They got to be convinced that we are that people. They've got to be able to look at us and see, no, these are the people. Why? Because they're walking in wisdom. And above that they are walking in what? A how.
Yes.
It is important that we understand, because we're walking in truth does not mean we become surly, we become angry, we become malicious and mean and just nasty. That is not who we are.
Yes.
We are his children, and because we know we are his children, it is important that we govern our lives as such. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. All right, chapter 26, and we're going to go into this once again. We're going to begin with verse 1. Let's begin with verse 1.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Come on. Let's read 8 verses.
Matthew chapter 26, verses 1 through 8. It came to be when Yahushua ended all these words, he said to his taught ones, "You know that after 2 days the Passover takes place, and the son of Adam is to be delivered up to be impaled."
Mm-hmm.
Then the chief Kohen and the scribes and the elders of the people came together at the court of the high Kohen, who was called Caiaphas, and plotted to seize Yahushua by trickery and kill him. But they said, "Not at the festival, lest there be an uproar among the people."
Mm-hmm.
And when Yahushua was in Beth Anya at the house of Shimon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of costly perfume, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. And when his taught ones saw it, they were much displeased, saying, "To what purpose is this waste?" And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now here it is. They're talking about what? The Peshat, the Passover. This is why it is important that we read for ourselves and don't get it misconstrued and get it all twisted and believe that the renewed covenant is not beneficial to us. It is very beneficial to us. And it's important that we read with an understanding. Very important. Now, once again, they knew that the Passover was coming soon. Now, look at what they wanted to do. They was plotting and trying to kill him. But they said, we can't do it because the feasts are upon us. And if we do this, it's going to cause what? It's going to cause a riot. It's going to cause problems. So it said, no, we can't do this. We have to wait. But at that time, here comes a woman. And I believe it is in the rendering of Mark that speaks of it as well. Mark or Luke, where it talks of the same thing, but it gives her name, Mary Magdalene. And so it speaks of her coming in and pouring oil on his head, anointing him. Now, mind you, he's already speaking to them. And it says, you know that after 2 Yamim, the Passover takes place, and the son of Adam is to be delivered up to be staked. Then the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people came together at the court of the high priest, who was called Quayath, and plotted to seize Yahushua by trickery and kill him. Now, he was telling them what was going on, but let me tell you something. This is important that we listen to what he is saying to us, because there are things that he will say to us, and if we're not careful, it'll go right over our heads, and we will miss exactly what he desires to convey to us. And so it's important that we listen to what he is saying. And so when he goes into the house of Shimeon, the leper, and Asha came to him, having an alabaster flask of costly perfume, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. And when his Talmudim, which is his taught ones, saw it, they were much displeased, saying, "To what purpose is this waste?" Now, isn't that amazing? He just told them that he was getting ready to be offered up, but they looked at it as being a waste but it doesn't say which one or who says it's a waste. But I believe we're going to know as we continue to read who counted it as a waste because they was trying to do something else or wanted to do something else with it. But she was compelled and moved by the Ruach HaKodesh to anoint him because of what was getting ready to take place in his life. So for people that say that women, that we are not in touch, we are definitely in touch with the Abba. We are in touch with him. Are you following me? And I never teach and I never ever try to teach where women are more important or men are more important. You have to understand we need each other, and without each other, we're nothing. It is important that we understand that. Are you following me? So understand we are just as important as the men in this walk. I will say that men, yes, men are important just as women are important. When we start playing the who is more important and who is greater game, that's when we're going to have problems. That's when we're going to have problems because you can't bring forth a child unless you have male and female.
Right.
So you need both. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let's read verse 9, please. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 9. This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
Aware of this, Yehu said to them, "Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
The poor you will always have with you, but you will not always have me. When she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial. I tell you the truth, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told, in memory of her." Verse 14. Then one of the 12, the one called Yehuda Iscariot, went to the chief Kohen and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Yehuda watched for an opportunity to hand him over. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, let's just look at the conversation here. Let's look at what's going on. Wouldn't it be wise to say, or even looking at what's taking place, that it was Yehuda that was the one who said it was a waste because it could have been basically exchanged for money to give to the poor? It would be likely that this would be that person that is, excuse me, talking all this. And the reason is because you have to understand he was the one that held the money bag. He was the treasurer. And some theologians and some have said that the reason why he went about this is because he was stealing money out of the bag. And this was his way to put that money back in. And so we can look and tell, though, by reading this, that he had an issue because he wanted that money to go in the purse. One of two things, because he was trying to replace it or because he wanted to use it. But she was in tune with the Ruach HaKodesh, and she anointed his body for his burial. Now, this is the second time or third time he is alluding to him getting ready to be offered up. This is important for us to understand. Now, listen what it says. Now he goes, after this is said, now after he says what is supposed to be done. And this is one of the things that is very important that we should remember. These are the words of Yahush. He said, "For in pouring this perfume on my body, she did it for my burial. Truly I say to you, wherever this Besorah is proclaimed in all the world, what this Asha has done shall be spoken of also to her remembrance." Now, y'all know we have not been doing, we have not been fair, or we have not shown justice to this, because most of the time we don't remember to remember her as we were commanded to. Why? Because we have been made to believe. Why? Why should we talk about her? But she did a great thing. And he said, it shall be spoken of her, and this shall be a remembrance because of what she has done for me. While they sat at table and while they sat there, not one of them did anything for him. And they had already heard this, 3 times? 3 times. Once again, it's just important to see where we are in this walk. Are we willing to give up something to get him? Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important. Now, after it says, and then one of the 12 called Yehuda went to the chief priest and said, "What would you give me to deliver him to you?" Now, you have to understand, this is anger. This is anger. This person is angry. Why are they angry? Why? Because you have to understand, he just took an opportunity from me to grab some money. He just took an opportunity from me. Then he going to sit up here and tell me that the poor will be with you always? I'll fix him. I'll show him. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
You can see where he got angry because he was greedy.
Mhm.
He was greedy. Not only was he greedy, I believe he was stealing.
Yes. God.
Why would somebody be that mean or be that angry or be that malicious because they tell you, hey, the poor be with you always. If you're so concerned about the poor, this right here, you can always get this again.
Mhm.
This is just a one-time thing. So you have to understand the mindset and understand what was truly his position in this.
Mhm.
Now, how do we bring that into today's or into Yam's terms? When we are dealing with the Abba, and when I say dealing, I don't say that frivolously, but when we are walking and we are in relationship with the Abba, it is important that we understand how we are to go about and how we are to govern ourselves with him. You have to understand what is for him is for him, and what we give and do for others is for them. But what is consecrated and set apart for him should always be consecrated and set apart for him. Your praise should always be for him. Am I saying that you're not supposed to acknowledge people for the things they have done that are great in our eyes and great in other people's eyes? Absolutely. I am saying you ought to applaud them. I am saying you ought to give them their accolades, give them their kudos. But praise belongs to the Abba. Praise belongs to Abba Yahuwah. Are you following me?
Yes.
And this is why it is important that we understand how these things work. If he was truly a praiser of Abba Yahuwah and he understood that Yahush was a gift, he would have had no problem. He would have been saying, we need more.
Mhm.
Instead of having an issue with that little bit that was being poured on him,
Right.
and then going and saying, hey, what will you give to me for me to turn him over to you? Let me tell you something. Greed will make you do some crazy things.
Yes.
Greed will make you turn over people that you say you are. Greed will make you do things once again that in the long run, after you think about your actions, it'll grieve you.
Mhm.
It'll make you grievous. It'll cause you to be hurt. So it's important that we understand. Now, once again, this is going on at the same time. Look at what else is going on. Now, Yahush is not losing his focus. You have to understand, he's in a crowd of people that don't realize, and watch this, still have not acknowledged or come to the understanding of who he really is. He's still in the midst of a people that do not recognize him as being the son of the Abba or the son of Yahuwah. He's in the midst of a people that don't know this. Are you following? Look at how they treated it. They did not acknowledge that. Now listen what it says. And so now after he counts out, and they count out to him, and they give him 30 pieces of silver. And from then on, he was seeking an occasion to deliver him up. You know, the term now is to not give him up, but to give him up. They say turn him over. But you know, or deliver him up. You know, we've been talking about somebody gave him up, somebody snitched. So you have to understand, this was what many people believe. When we were in Christianity, we always said that it was the devil that made him do it. But once you read from the original, you're going to see that Shaitan, which is not the devil, Shaitan, the Satan. Are you hearing me? He's not the devil. Really, he's not. Shaitan is Satan. Now we do have demons. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So don't get quiet on me. Don't draw up from me. There are demons, but you have to understand that Shaitan is something different. This is important for us to understand. Okay, and we'll get into that in the future. But I want us to understand why, because when we read this, you're going to understand that in some of the writings, and I believe it's in the King James, is going to say that at a certain point the devil enters him. That's not in the original writings. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand there are some things that you can do because it's in your heart to do.
Mhm.
You know, people say the devil made me do it. The devil can't make you do anything that's not in your heart, or Shaitan can't make you do anything that's not already in your heart.
God.
If you go out there and beat the snot out of somebody, it's because it was in your heart to do so.
Mhm.
If you go in there and give somebody everything, it was in your heart to do so.
No.
It's important that we understand and not get this thing twisted and start hiding behind what we've been taught for so many years.
Yes.
Are you following me? This is important for us to understand. And the reason it is because now you're going to have to deal with your own guilt. You're going to have to deal with your own choices. Because if you make the wrong choice, guess what? You have to deal with that choice.
Yes.
You have to deal with it. Now, as we continue to read, he waited. Now, you have to understand, he basically literally stalked Yahush, and he was with them the whole time. But every time, his whole goal was to find an opportunity to be able to turn him over or to give him up. Now, listen at verse 17. Let's read. Let's read 8 verses, 17.
On the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahushua, saying unto him, what wilt thou we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master saith, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at the house of my disciples. And the disciples did as Yahushua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12, and they did eat. He said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, power is it I. And he answered and said, he that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes, as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been great for a man if he had not been born. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, now it says the first day of, but this right here in verse 17 tells us it was prior to unleavened bread. Because remember, he was already saying to Yamim, it was going to be the Passover. So they hadn't even taken the Passover. They hadn't even had Passover yet. So it was 2 Yamim before Passover. So now they are preparing Passover. Unleavened bread has not taken place yet. Okay? Yes. 2 feasts, not 1, 2. So it's important that we understand these things. All right. Now, listen what it says. And prior to unleavened bread, the Talmidim came to Yahushua, saying to him, where do you wish us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is near. I am to observe the Passover at your house with my Talmidim. Now, this is important for us to understand that Yahushua himself was a participant of the Passover. He partook of the Passover because he is the one who told them, go find a place where they asked him where we supposed to do it. And he gave them instructions and they followed those instructions to the letter. They didn't go saying, well, should we go hiding? Are you sure this is the right place? Are you sure you want to do this? He said, go in and you do this. And this is where it's going to be held. Now, verse 19, and the Talmidim did as Yahushua had ordered them and prepared the Passover. That means they went in, cleaned it, cooked it, and prepared it. Are you following me?
Yes.
Everything that we do on this, do during this time, they did it then. They found it, cleaned it, cooked it, prepared it, and when it was time, they went in and they partook of it. Are you following me?
Yes.
He didn't say that, well, we're just going to go and just prepare it. No, he ate of the Passover. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. All right, now. And when the evening came, he sat down with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, truly I say to you, one of you shall deliver me up. While they were eating, they were sitting and they were eating the Passover meal. Are you following me?
Yes.
They were eating it, enjoying themselves. And they were deeply grieved and began to say to him, each of them, Master, is it I? Because they wanted to know, because he said, look, one of y'all going to offer me up. One of y'all are going to betray me. One of y'all are going to betray me. And he answering said, he who has dipped his hand with me in the dish, he shall deliver me up. Verse 24, indeed, the son of Adam goes as it has been written concerning him. But woe to that man. Now listen what it says again. Indeed, the son of Adam goes as it has been written concerning him. So he is saying, look, this has been written about me. This has been written about me. And this is how this is going to play out. But woe to that man by whom the son of Adam is delivered up. It would have been better that man, if he had not been born. Now you have to understand, many people have argued the fact that because Yehuda did this, that he had no choice. He had a choice. He had a choice. He did not have to give Yahusha. He did not have to do that.
Right.
That was a choice. And I believe that choice was stemmed or it was provoked by greed. By greed. No. The Shaitan didn't make him do it. No demon made him do it. It was greed. He was greedy.
Right.
And he wanted money. And that is why he did it. Because as we continue to read, we're going to see. But Yahush tells him, it is better that man had not been born. Mm-hmm. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand this. Verse 25. And Yehuda, he who delivered him up, answering said, Rabbi, is it I? He said to him, you have said it. Now, in some renderings, I'm not sure if it's in yours or is it in yours. In verse 25, where it says in one of the renderings that the enemy entered into him. If it's not in that one, I know it's in one of them. Okay. Is it in the one you have? Okay. And it says, and Yehuda, he who delivered him up, answering said, Rabbi, is it I? He said to him, you have said it. Now, he said, and if you notice, whenever Yahush is answering someone, he uses, you have said it. In other words, you know this is you. We ain't got to play. We ain't got to go around the rosies. You know this is you. You know you have done what you've done. Now listen what it says. And as they were eating, Yahush took bread. Now when we eat the Passover with what?
Bread.
What kind of bread? Unleavened bread. We eat it with unleavened bread. One of the things that is important is that we should never, ever underestimate the importance of unleavened bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because truthfully, Passover is a feast. It is a time of commemoration and celebration, but we keep unleavened bread for 7 days. For 7 days. And we celebrate. The first day is a rest unto us, and then the 7th day it's a rest unto us. It is a Kodesh day or time. And so it's a time we rest. But while they were eating, he took the bread. Now, mind you, the day after is unleavened bread. But we partake of unleavened bread while we are eating the Passover. And as they were eating, Yahush took bread and having Baruch, broke and gave it to the Talmidim and said, take, eat, this is my body. He's telling them to eat what? The bread. The unleavened bread, the bread that is without leaven. We know leaven also it represents what? Sin. So he's saying, take or partake of my life that is without sin. Now let's look at this. Verse 27, and taking the cup and giving thanks, he gave it to them saying, drink from it, all of you. Even Yehuda drank from it, knowing that he was going to betray him. He said, all of you. He never left him out. He was able to partake of it. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, the thing that I looked at, and which a lot of people struggle with, is this. Because in the Torah, Yahuwah gave us specific instructions not to eat blood, not to partake of blood. Are you following me?
Yes.
In no form or fashion are we to eat blood. But he also told us that he would take his laws and put them where? On our hearts. He would put them on our hearts. So you have to look at this as being an idiom and not taking it at face value. And this is where many of our people have stumbled, because they say, well, he was in error, because why would he tell them drink all of it, or drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood? Are you following me?
Yes.
This is where we have to elevate our thinking and understand Yahushua was not going against the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, but he was telling them in an idiom or in an analogy, not so much drink my blood, but take this and let it be applied on the inside. Are you following me?
Yes.
This is what is important. And many of our people have stumbled at this. Why? Because they're saying, well, he's telling them to do something that the law forbids us to do, and that is to take and eat blood. But you also have to understand that it is an idiom, and because they have walked with him, they understand his what? Language. But he is telling them, just like he told them, the bread is his body without sin and without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. He's telling them the blood, which is life, in order to experience life, it has to be on the inside and not on the outside. This is what he is referring or what he is conveying to them. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And once again, the problem comes in is because so many of our people read it and they say, well, that's the devil, that's Shaitan, that so-called Jesus, that so-called Yahushua, he went and told them to drink his blood. He was breaking the Torah. You have to understand it's important that we see the things. You have to also understand they never did see any demons cast out either, but he was casting them out. And he was casting them out of what? Our people. He was bringing forth healing. Are you following me? The renewed covenant was in action, or it was activated through his life. And this is what was bringing healing. Are you following me?
Yes.
This is important for us to understand what's taking place and that we don't push away the life that he's given unto us.
Yes.
Verse 28, for this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. When he said for many, he's talking about the children of Yasharal.
Yes.
Because it's many of us. But I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on till that young, when I drink it anew with you in the reign of my Abba. And watch this. And having sung a song, they went out to the Mount of Olives. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now watch this. Watch what takes place. In verse 31, let's read. Read 9 verses for me, please. Mm-hmm.
Then Yahushua said to his disciples, tonight will all fall away because of me.
Mm-hmm.
This is because it is written, I will hit the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will go off in all directions.
Mm-hmm.
But after I am raised up, I'll go before you to Galilee. Kepha replied, if everyone else stumbles because of you, I'll never stumble. Yahushua said to him, I assure you that before the rooster crows tonight, you will deny me 3 times. Kepha said, even if I must die alongside you, I won't deny you. All the disciples said the same thing. Then Yahushua went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to the disciples, stay here while I go and pray over there. Where he took Kepha and Zebedee's 2 sons. He began to feel sad and anxious. Then he said to them, I am very sad. It's as if I'm dying. Stay here and keep alert with me. Then he went a short distance farther and fell on his face and prayed, my Abba, if it's possible, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not what I want, but what you want. And it is so.
Excuse me. Now he says, but certainly I say to you, verse 31, and you can find that in Zechariah 13:7. And it says, then Yahushua said to them, all of you shall stumble in me this Layla. For it has been written, I shall strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. That night they were going to be tested, and they were going to be challenged to see if they really were going to stand with him. There's going to come a time in our lives, and that time is now right upon us, that we are going to be tested and we're going to be challenged, our belief. And many people are giving up. Why? Because somebody comes with one verse or a couple of verses and say, well, this is wrong, and we've been walking in this wrong. We don't go and we don't pray, we don't fast, we just take it face value because the scriptures look like they're right. Just because it looks right doesn't mean it's right. That's why we are to fast and pray. We are to fast and pray, and we are to seek him daily concerning his writings. And so it is important that we have a relationship with him. And understand what I'm saying. People have a lot of knowledge. Remember the writings where it says having a form of uprightness but denying the power thereof? You can have a form of uprightness but have no power. We want more than just knowledge, book knowledge. We want the power that comes along with that knowledge. Yes. And it comes from the root of relationship. If we have no relationship, we have no power. God. We have no power. We ask, why aren't why is there not healing? The saying, is there a balm in Gilead? Yes, there is a balm. And that balm is Yahush. But why aren't we seeing people blinded eyes being opened, deaf ears being unstopped, and tongues loosed, and lives being transformed, and people being healed? Is because relationship. It begins with relationship. And you can't have a relationship with a person you don't believe in. Yes. You can't do great exploits in that person's name when you don't even believe in that person. He healed the sick. It was upon him to do so. Isn't it Yashiyah 63 or 61 where he says that the spirit of Abba Yahu is upon me, for he have anointed me? And then also in Luca. It's also in Luca, where he gives the decree of what it is he is supposed to do. Why are we doing it? Is because we have to have that relationship. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I know it's in Luke 2. We have to have that relationship. I believe it's in Luke 6, I think. Very important that we understand these things. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Very, very, very important. Why is it important that we understand these things? The reason it is important that we understand these things is so that we can get in the flow and we can get in that relationship with the Abba, so that we can begin transform and lives healed. We are dealing with angry people. Male and female children are being raised in angry homes, which turn around and make them what? Angry. So you got angry. You got people just so angry. Are you following me? Yes. So angry that now they can't hardly do anything for anger. Very important that we understand. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to. Very important that we understand. I know, is it Yashiyah 63 or 61? Very important for us to understand this, because without relationship, we won't be able to do these things. And it is so. Read it for me.
Yeshua chapter 61. Verse 1. The Spirit of the Sovereign Savior is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me to preach great news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of Yahuwah's favor and the day of vengeance of our Savior, to comfort all who mourn. And it is so.
Read it again for me. Read it louder. Read it louder.
The Ruah of the Sovereign Savior is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me to preach great news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release the darkness of the prisoners, to proclaim the year of Yahuwah's favor and the day of vengeance of our power, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of Yahuwah for the display of his splendor. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Now, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Now, once again, it is predicated upon our relationship. We have to have a relationship with the Abba. And having the relationship with him, this is what gives us the ability to do so. Now, understand what I mean. You can't do it unless he bestows it upon you.
God.
That's not just something you just run around and say, okay, I just do this and I just do that. No, the important thing is that unless he does it, you can't do it. You won't be able to operate in that. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, it's important once again that we understand this. I just read this. His ability to heal, and he also gave that ability to his Talmudim, which were his disciples, his followers. And so it is important that we understand that as if we are truly his disciples, his Talmudim, his followers, then he will give us that ability. Now, I'm not saying everybody will have that ability, but I am saying that if you don't do anything else but be able to minister healing to somebody's heart, then you ought to be able to do that. Are you following me?
Yes.
It's important that we understand that we are to be able to direct people into truth. This is so important for us to understand. But once again, it is about healing. And these things are steeped in our relationship. It is steeped in the relationship that we are supposed to have with him. And it is so. Now listen what he says. He said, but after I have been raised, I shall go before you into Galilee. Now he's already knowing that he's going to be raised up. It's not like he didn't know. He knew that his death was not eternal. But he had to do and go through what he had gone through for the sake of us. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. Once again, I know many people would fight and say, well, I don't know why you believe in that man-made doctrine and that man-made book, because it ain't this and it ain't that. Well, you brush off and you put away your way of life, because if you don't have the Son, you don't have life. You don't have eternal life. And so it is important we understand and know where our eternal life comes from. Now he says, meet me there. And Kepha answering said to him, even if all falter in you, I shall never falter. In other words, he said, even if you mess up or falter in the Torah, I won't let it go. Okay. It's important we understand that. Now, all right, now read that for us. It's in Luke
Chapter 4, verse 18.
Oh, right over there. Okay, come on.
Luke chapter 4, verse 18. The Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the Torah to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahuwah.
Now finish reading it.
Verse 20.
20 and 21.
And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. And it is so.
And it is so. To Yom, this scripture has been concluded in your hearing. So he's telling them now, you're going to see, y'all want to be funny, you want to be smart, because they would give the writings and it opened up and he was the one to read and it opened up right on there. Yashiyah 61, and he reads it and Luca records it, him reading Yashiyah 61, which is a part of what? The first covenant, the prophets. Very important for us to understand. Once again, the reason why it is important is that we have to have an extension to be able to connect these dots. And this is what connects it. Once again, it's about relationship. And the stronger, and healthier our relationship is with the Abba, then guess what? Then the Son, Yahushua, our Mashiach, will begin to give us the ability and the anointing to do these things. Right. That's important for us to understand, because this is why we were awakened. We were awakened to be a witness a witness of his greatness, a witness of his power, a witness of him being a miracle worker. Now listen what it says. And Yahushua said to him, truly I say to you, that this Layla, before the rooster crows, you shall deny me 3 times. Kepha said to him, even if I have to die with you, I shall not deny you. All the Talmudim said the same thing too. So everybody was basically saying the same thing. But he had already told them, according to Zechariah 13:7, that when the shepherd is when he strikes the shepherd, the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. So this was prophesied that this was going to happen. And it was necessary for it to happen. Why? Because they had to see what was in them. They had to see that all that talk, it was just talk. Excuse me. And y'all know how many had said, I ain't going nowhere. I'm never going to leave this walk. I'm going to walk in this walk, and ain't nothing can drag me out of this walk. Ain't nothing going to drag me out of this walk. That's great to say when you're not under fire and under pressure. And that's great for people to say when they have a great understanding of the writings. But you have to have also a relationship to go with that. Wearing shoes without socks is only gonna be all right for a little while. After a while, your feet gonna sweat and start hurting. Because you need something to cushion your feet in that shoe. Unless it was made for you to wear it like sandals. You don't have to wear socks with sandals. So the thing of it is that you have to understand he was made for that which he had to go through. He was made for that. The thing that we must remember once again is that we are made in the image of the Abba. And watch this. Now, because we are made in their image, and now we are walking this life, it is important that we learn how to live also in the image of them. Right. Very important for us to understand. And it begins with relationship. Right. We can't say that we are him and hate our neighbor. Right. We can't say that. And then we can't say we're ready to destroy everybody. But we say we are Abba Yahuwahs. You have to understand, during that time, Rome was in power. You didn't see Yahush going up trying to tackle folk and bring down fire and destroy everybody. He wasn't doing that. You know what he was focused on? He was focusing on the prostituting sheep of Yasharal. That's why we have to stay focused. Somebody say, stay focused. Stay focused. Say it again, stay focused. Stay focused. It's important we stay focused in this hour and in this time, especially now that we are in the vein of our feast coming back to back. Very important that we stay focused because the enemy desires nothing more than to trip us up. That's right. It's important we stay committed to what he has called us unto. Now, listen what it said. Now, everybody said, we ain't going nowhere. We're going to stay right here until a certain thing happened. And we're about to read what happened. Then Yahush came with them to a place called Gethsemane, which means, Adam, sit here while I go over there and pray. Now, anybody knows what an oil press is or anything that has to be pressed. That means you're about to go through some hard, rigorous stuff. When we say press, we mean press. You talk about a tire or a car running over something like a grape and just mashes it to just literally nothing but juice. This is what Yahushua was getting ready to go through. Now, mind you, remember this. They were in Passover, getting ready to go into what? Feast of Unleavened Bread. He had already partook of the Passover. And then he told them, he said, now, during that time, he took the unleavened bread and the wine, and he said, now, he broke it, and he said, now take, eat. And he said, this is my body. And then he said, with the wine, he said, drink. He said, all of it. This is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, not new covenant, renewed covenant. Anytime covenant is cut or renewed, blood has to be shed. And so the essence of what he said was to get them to think inside. We got to have this on the inside of us. Now watch this. The reason being, because watch this, the reason why they were able to be scattered, because it was what? Surface. If it would have been on the inside, after we read later, after their conversion, their real conversion, They were willing to die, and they did die. They were like, hey, no. This is how this is going to go. Are you following me? So it's important that we understand that it's about relationship and truly being conformed and transformed. Conform to his ways and being transformed into the people that he's calling us to be. And it is so. He told me, he said, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took with him Kepha and the two sons of Zebediah. And he began to be grieved and deeply distressed because he began to feel the reality of what was getting ready to take place. You have to understand, all the sins of Yasharal were getting ready to come down on him in one layla. He was getting ready to pay the price for all the sins. Now you have to understand now, what I mean all the sins, I'm talking about our ancestors and forefathers. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
He paid it all. All of that was getting ready to come upon him. And you have to understand, the flesh is willing. The flesh is weak, but the Ruach is willing. The flesh don't want to be hurt. The flesh don't want to go through nothing. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You get talking about pain, the flesh be like, You know, sometimes somebody say something you ain't really thinking consciously about it, but it just comes out your mouth. Like I wouldn't do it. Be like, oh, you know what? I thought I was thinking. I was speaking out loud. I was thinking out loud, but you're really thinking on the inside, but it just kind of pops out your mouth. Now listen what it says. And he was grieved and distressed. Then he said to them, my being is exceedingly grieved, even to death. Stay here and watch with me. Now, mind you, if you can't watch with me for an hour, when the crowd comes, how are you going to stay with me? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
If we can't pray and we can't stay in that place, then how are we going to be able to handle it? I believe it was Jeremiah said it. If we can't keep up with the footmen, how are we going to run with the horsemen? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
If we can't keep up with the footmen, how are we going to run with the horsemen? That means people that are on horses. It's impossible. How are we going to endure if we don't spend that quality time in prayer? If we don't spend that quality time of praise? If we don't open ourselves up and give ourselves completely and totally to him? How is it going to work? Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
This is important because relationship is the key. Without relationship, why do you think Yahuwah went through the lengths to allow Yahush to come, the Torah to become flesh, to come with us and dwell among us? Because he wanted what? He wanted the restoration of what? Our relationship. The relationship that we should have had through our ancestors. In other words, the relationship that should have been taught through our ancestors had to be taught through Yahush. So if they messed up, who are you going to follow? Yahush is the only one that didn't fumble and stumble. He is the only one that can give us and has given us the right way to adhere and to ahab Yahuwah.
Right.
So what other example do you have if you don't have him? We don't have one. Are you following me?
Yes.
Even Rabbi Shaul said, follow me as I follow Yahush. It's important. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
But they couldn't even watch. Verse 39, and going forward a little, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Abba, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I desire, but as you desire. Once again, relationship. Now watch this. As Yahush was speaking to the Abba, so should they have been standing with him in that same position. Saying, hey, we tired, and this thing is you feel like it's getting the best of me, but I'm going to stay awake because I need your help. If you help me stay awake, I will stay awake and I will do what I need to do. But you got to be willing.
Good.
Can't nobody be sitting there beating you and dragging you and fighting you. Come on, man, you got to stay awake. No, because you got to remember, you got to pray too. This is an individual walk. You have to walk it out. I have to walk it out. But together we can be a support to one another. That's important for us to understand. And listen what he says. He fell on his face and he said out of his own mouth, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I desire, but as you desire. It was that flesh, that moment that we see. Flesh that didn't want to do this thing. Are you following me?
Yes.
That was that flesh. Not saying that, because we used to always say he was Yahuwah in the flesh. I had to change that. Why? Because you have to understand, he appointed Yahush to do this.
Come.
Yahush says, send me, I will go, prepare me a body. And he appointed him to the task. So Yahush was the one that came and did this. There are some mysteries that we will never know until we meet him. And there are some mysteries and revelations that are right there that he reveals unto us. But there are some things that we ought to look at and say, Abba Yahuwah, you did it and it's done.
Come.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Because there are many interpretations of what really went down. But truth be told, once again, it's important that we understand that Yahush was appointed to come. Are you following me?
Yes.
And to do what he did. There's many things that has been spoken. Verse 40, and he came to the Talmudim and found them asleep and said, Kepha, so were you not able to watch with me 1 hour? Now, you have to understand the reason why he explicitly calls his name out. Why would you think he would call Kepha's name out? Because Kepha the one that got the ball rolling. I ain't going to leave you. I'll die with you. Ow. And he said, but you couldn't even pray with me 1 hour. So how are you going to stand under this kind of pressure if you can't even pray with me 1 hour? Now you have to understand something. This is not the first time that they've had to pray with him.
Mm-hmm.
They've prayed before. But there are times when we get to a point where we think, okay, this is probably the same way. No, don't ever take any situation and anything ever for granted.
Come.
Never, ever, ever. Now listen what he says in verse 41. Watch and pray. Now this is what he's telling them. Watch and pray, lest you enter into trial. The Ruach indeed is eager, but the flesh is weak. He's telling them, you need to watch and pray. Why? Because the time of trying upon you, or the time of trying is upon you. And if you have not prayed and you have not secured yourself, guess what's going to happen? You're going to fall. You're going to fall. You're going to miss that mark. And this is why it is important that we stay focused. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important. Now listen, I'm going to read to verse 44. Again, he went away a second time and prayed, saying, Oh my Abba, if it is possible for this to pass, unless I drink it, let your desire be done. And he came and found them asleep again. For their eyes were heavy. They were heavy. They were truly tired and they were sleepy. Many have said that it was a unnatural sleep that was upon them because of that what was getting ready to take place. But at the same time, when we read the writings, he tells them, watch and pray. And he tells them to come with him. He didn't tell them to come with him because they were to give them a place to sleep. He told them to come with him because they were going to be the ones that needed it most. All of them were scattered. But you have to understand, everybody didn't go through the lengths that a couple of them went through, like Kepha. Kepha, said some choice words, and he really went through, a whole lot to make himself be separate from the group. And he told him, he said, because of the trials. He said in verse 41, watch and pray lest you enter into trial. The Ruach indeed is eager, but the flesh is weak. He said, look, you got to do this. Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be scattered. And it's going to harm you more than help you. Verse 44, and he left them, went away again, and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Verse 45, then he came to his Talmudim and said to them, still sleeping and taking rest. See, the hour has come near, and the son of Adam is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Verse 46, rise, let us go. See, he who betrays me, or who has betrayed me up, has come near. Now, they're able to get up. He says, you're resting. We have choices. Someone said, did they have a choice? I believe they did. I believe they did. And the reason why I say I believe they did is because he would not have asked them just to come for naught.
Okay.
But he asked them to come to do what? To condition and prepare themselves for what was at hand. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you can't seem to close your eyes. You better pray. You better pray. because you don't know what it may be something that's going to come your way throughout the day or out the yom, or it may be going to somebody else throughout the yom. But you better pray. When you know he's waking you up and you just can't go back to sleep, pray. Pray. And if you're not sure what to pray for, then ask the Abba Yahuwah, let your will be done through me. If it's somebody I need to intercede for, help me to intercede for them. If you don't want to give me the name, then just show me what I need to say or whatever I need to do. That's when you need to begin to rely in and upon the Ruach HaKodesh. Teach me how to pray, Abba Yahuwah. Show me how to pray, because let me tell you something. We got enough of things to pray for in our community.
Yes.
We have a lot, so it ain't like we don't know what to pray for. Once again, in the opening, as I said, when you have those that claim to be of us, and yet they would be willing to put their hands on somebody else's child and take their life. When you have people that are willing to beat up and say all manner of things about the person that they have taken in and said that that's their issue. There's a problem in Zion. There's a problem in Yasharal. And it needs to be addressed. And not only does it need to be addressed, but we need to be asking Abba Yahuwah for wisdom. Because you have to understand, this should not be a normal thing for us.
God.
You know, people getting beat up and defaming and you have all this going on. And then people, let me tell you something, people capitalizing off of somebody else's death. People don't care. But it's important that we pray, and that we pray for the security and for the protection of Yasharal. Because regardless of how many crazy people are out there, we still have babies being born into this way. And we need to pray that we can cover them, and that they don't discourage and be ready to get out of here.
That's right.
That we pray to cover them and protect them coming into the way of life, coming into the truth. So it is important. But that night, Yahushua was betrayed. And you have to understand, it was during the feast of unleavened bread. It was during the feast of unleavened bread. It was taken in. Because remember, they were eating. They had already taken Passover. And then from Passover, they went. And that's where they were met. And so it was during that time. So it is cataloged and it is shown that Yahushua participated, even though Christianity says that he never partook of any of the feasts. It's a lie. He was a partaker of the feasts. They just and made communion. I believe it's in Corinthians chapter 12, where Rabbi Shaul talks about do this in remembrance of me. And they basically took it. Well, you have to remember, he was talking about Peshat and unleavened bread, but the Christian arena made it into chapter 11, thank you, where they made it into communion, to where you believe that it's about taking a little cup of juice and a little wafer, and that's what you're supposed to do. No, there's an annual time that we do Peshat, and this is the time that we partake of this. Not every first and fifth Sunday, not every third and second and third, or fourth and fifth or fourth Sunday. It is annually. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
That we take this during a bib. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
That we celebrate Peshat, and then we go into unleavened bread. It's important we understand these things. Very important. And that we, those that have, if you did not celebrate it on last year, I encourage you, I implore you, I beg you, take it this year. Do not sit out and not take it. Don't make excuses, because anywhere else we need to be and anything else we need to do, we do it. Right. If we got to go across the world to get something, we do it. But I am saying to you, don't let this year pass you by and you don't participate in Peshat and unleavened bread. And far as that go, the rest of the feast that we've been commanded to watch and guard. Right. This is how we prove that we are covenant people and keeping the Shabbat or the Shabbat right. It's important that we do these things, because this is our commitment and this is our covenant, our way of showing that we are covenant people. It was on that night that he was betrayed by Yehuda. It was on that night. that they came to him with sticks and torches and swords, as if they were coming to get a murderer. But you have to understand, he had disrupted and messed up their system, that they was just ready to get him. He turned their system upside down. And he brought in what Yashaya 61 verses 1, I believe it is, through 7, right? 1 through 7 or 1 through 1 through 5. Yashaya 61. And then Luke 4 and 18, one of my favorite ones. It's the same thing. It's important that we understand. He turned and he brought truth that had been covered up for so many generations. And when you begin to speak truth, you're going to make enemies. You're going to ruffle many of feathers. But hold your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah of truth, because you can't go wrong. Very important for us to understand that. Once again, I want to encourage you. Find a place that you know, first and foremost, their hands are clean. They're living the life, excuse me, that they say they're living. And they are qualified to celebrate the Peshat and celebrate it. We will be celebrating it April 3rd. And we will be doing it at home. And so we're excited about the things that Abba Yahuwah is going to say. We're excited about the connection, and we're excited about the miracles that we're going to see that will take place. I am just ecstatic and excited about what he's going to do. But go somewhere where once again, whether it's close, whether it's far, whether it's near. But make sure that this year you be a participant and walk in obedience. Don't be disobedient. Disobedience is what gets us in trouble and gets us out of the mercy of Abba Yahuwah.
Right.
One way or the other, you will pay and suffer for disobedience. If you don't suffer for it in your body, you're going to suffer for it in your finances. So we don't want to suffer in either one of those places. Now, I'm not saying all sickness is a whipping from Abba Yahuwah. And I'm not saying all situations, because some situations that come about come about because of foolishness. Are you hearing me? Wrong choices and so forth. But there are times when you know that there are certain things that are at the hand of Abba Yahuwah. But I pray that you will make it a point and that you will do your level best to go in and celebrate the Peshat. Let this year be a year like never before. Let experience this if you've not experienced it. We've experienced it. I'm going to say this and then we're going to pray and dismiss. When we were coming into truth and we were still kind of weaning ourselves off of Christianity, and we were walking in, and I remember getting ready to do communion one morning, because we were having both Sabbath classes and we were also having first day classes. And we were in class, and I remember getting ready to do communion. And I know I heard the Ruach HaKodesh say to me, don't take this. Don't do this anymore. And that very day, or that very yom, we didn't take it. I don't believe we took it, because that moment when it was spoken to my Ruach that this is not what we are supposed to do, that we are supposed to be keeping the Passover, I immediately went into studying to find out what did that mean, and come to find out we have been doing it the wrong way. So it's important that you understand. And from that first time we took it, we have not turned back, because we experienced something like never before. We experienced that what we needed to experience, what our ancestors experienced. And so it is important that you do the same. And I believe on that very Layla that we took it, relationship was forged, and we were at that moment and at that time, we were truly walking in and accepting the will of Abba Yahuwah for our lives. Because we made a choice to walk in obedience. No matter who or what it cost us, we were willing to do so. So I encourage you to do the same. And it is so.
And it is so.
Abba Yahuwah, as we stand before you this Layla, I ask Abba Yahuwah that you would give your people, our people, a sense of understanding and a sense of urgency, that this is something that we must do and never trade it off or trade it down for anything else. I ask Abba Yahuwah that you would make ways and open doors for your people to be able to celebrate this time and commemorate a time of refreshing, a time of remembrance and commemoration. A time, Abba Yahuwah, that you brought our people out of Mitzrayim, a time that you brought them out of slavery, a time that we look forward to, of truly being able to leave a place of slavery, a place of limitations, a place, Abba Yahuwah, where we are limited and brought into a place of greatness, a place of a large place, Abba Yahuwah, for us, your people. I ask Abba Yahuwah that you will begin to open doors and work this out for your people, for those that need vacation time. Let vacation time come up that was not given to them before. Let there be days that be found for them that were not found before. Let there be finances found that was not found before, that your people can walk in obedience to the commands that you have given unto us, your people. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, for those that are downtrodden and brokenhearted this lately, for those, Abba Yahuwah, that have been going through, seem like, for weeks, months, and days at a time, and they're struggling, trying to ground themselves in the moment. I ask Abba Yahuwah that you would give them a strength like never before. I ask Abba Yahuwah that what is our natural, as we are the natural habitation for the Torah, that the Torah is strength, it's life. It's our guide, it's our instruction, that the Torah will begin to stir in them and cause them to be more adamant about being motivated and about moving in the things that you have given unto us. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, that you would give your people a financial overhaul. Those that have been working and feel like and seem like they just can't, they don't have enough. I ask Abba Yahuwah for the times of the feast, that you would give them more than enough, that they're able to walk in that. And I ask Abba Yahuwah, as you give it to them, that they will be reminded that this is to be used for nothing but for them to go and be participants, obedient participants of the feast that you have given unto us, your people. I ask these things, Abba Yahuwah, in the mighty name of your Son, our Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach. And it is so. And it is so. All right. I want to say to you, keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong when you walk in obedience. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located, in South Carolina. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so. And it is so.